Okay, g'day everybody, it's Benjamin Morgan, Chief Executive of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association of Australia, and I'm just back again for what will be my second last video for today. But it is a follow-up video to just quickly discuss the consultative meeting, the sham consultative meeting that was held by the people at Canberra Airport this past week to discuss what is going to be the displacement of the runway 12 threshold at Canberra Airport. Now, runway 12 is a cross runway at Canberra, and we reported a number of weeks back that there had been a communication sent out by the people at Canberra Airport advising that they were, quote, consulting with the aviation industry regarding their permanent displacement of the runway 12 threshold, which they have tried to put forward an argument that it's all about the safety of our industry. And isn't it amazing that the word safety comes out when property developers want to carve up a national aviation infrastructure? Safety is a word that's not only used by CASA to justify some of the most abhorrent changes to our industry over the years, but it's something that the privatised airport community have clutched onto in recent years, and they wield it around thinking that people are stupid and are buying the crap that they are selling. And it's exactly that, it's the crap that they're selling. Now, this past week, Canberra Airport sent out its representatives to host a public consult which took place down there. And about 30 people turned up. I unfortunately was not able to attend in person, but I did have several representatives go down, and they detailed some rather extensive reports on what was fed back to the industry during that consultative meeting. And I'd like to start by first, once again, amplifying a clear fact. First of all, airport privatisation in Australia has been an abject failure. What airport privatisation has done, it has created very powerful and very wealthy privatised airport operators, people who've been handed hundreds of millions of dollars, and in fact near billions of dollars, from the Australian taxpayer to private individuals and to private companies who now wield control over our aviation infrastructure. And their influence and their control that they hold on this infrastructure has been hugely detrimental to aviation, and has caused no end of damage to general aviation, because after all, we require airports. That's the only way aviation works, is if we have airports to function from. And when the airports simply gouge and charge excess fees for the use of these sites, then it has a cost impact, and it has impacted over the last 2 decades on our aviation community like nothing else. It has been incredibly damaging to the future of aviation, and so much so that the airlines themselves in the last 2 years, just before COVID broke out, the airlines were out there screaming from their rooftops that the privatised airports were charging so much money, in fact, that it was actually making the use of these airports uneconomic for major carriers, which included Qantas. And there's a whole body of work you can go search online of exactly what Qantas were saying about the operations down in Canberra and the types of fees and charges that they were being hit with by the privatised airport operators, who clearly see these airports, these privatised companies, they see these airports as a cash cow. They're this giant four-uddered cash cow that they just keep milking year after year, and the taxpayer gets to foot the bill, because, you know, this is the dirty little secret of privatisation. The government privatised them, they put them into private hands, and those companies are just passing on the fees to everybody, and now we're paying time and time again. It's disgraceful. But anyway, our good friends down at Canberra Airport now believe it's time, post-COVID, to move ahead with displacing the runway 12 threshold by about 350 or 400 metres. I think it's 350. Actually, I'll have to just check the number. It's beside the point. They're going to shorten the runway because they've told everybody at the consultative meeting, which was about 30 people, a consultative process that hasn't been widely advertised, a consultative process that was not advised to the aviation industry. They simply let a few of the local aviators know that this process was running. But they've advised everyone they're going to shorten the runway. And many people across the aviation industry have reached out to me and have said, Ben, how do they do this? Why isn't the Minister intervening? Why isn't the Department of Infrastructure intervening? Well, the first thing is the Minister's not intervening because the Minister's not interested. The Minister's not interested. We've got a Minister that's more interested in electric aircraft and trying to get the industry off hydrocarbon fuels than they are staying alert to the fact that these private companies are gouging the Australian aviation infrastructure to pieces. And that needs to be noted. We need an aviation minister who's actually going to take a direct interest in these issues, and they're going to stand up. And Barnaby Joyce previously was starting to have a go at doing this in knocking over the Moorabbin Airport Master Plan. and making clear to the privatised operators that you have to be accountable for your actions at these sites. You can't just keep destroying aviation infrastructure and removing it for non-aviation and expecting the aviation industry to put up with it. And it's exactly what's going on at Canberra Airport. Canberra Airport is on a march to convert as much space as they can into business parks and non-aviation related activities, and that's where the money is. And I note that there's a few Canberra Airport apologists that jump on PP Prune this last few weeks to have a go at Ben Morgan, saying how uninformed is Ben Morgan by making these statements. Well, the consult took place last week and they've admitted it. They've come out and told everyone, we've got to close, we've got to shorten that runway, we've got to displace that threshold, because they're planning on building some more buildings in the business park and they intend on doing some more developments. And of course, the runway and the operational splays, the spaces of which need to be kept clear, simply aren't going to be compatible unless they shorten that runway down. And is it to anybody's surprise this is going on? I doubt it. Everyone saw through what this was all about. I believe the meeting, by account of the report, started with the consultants trying to tell the participants in the meeting that this was actually about the safety of people on the road. Canberra Airport suddenly became very concerned with the safety of people driving on the road next to the airport, and we're going to displace the threshold because we want a little bit more vertical space for people travelling on that road. And when the audience didn't buy that, they then started to say, oh, but it might be about ADFA. ADFA's expanding, and we need a little bit more vertical space for ADFA. And when people weren't buying that, the guy who was giving the presentation slipped up and admitted that they are building some buildings, and then was forced to do some backtracking, and then actually had to identify on a map, and I actually have those graphics which I'll be sharing online. He had to admit that this is actually about building more buildings at Canberra Airport, and of course if they don't displace the runway, they can't build the buildings. And of course, what's motivating them to build buildings? Money. We're taking aviation capability and aviation safety and we're throwing it out the window because we want our friends down at Canberra, of course, to make more money. Well, how sad is that? How sad is it that our aviation infrastructure continues to be carved up? And they're almost proud about what they're doing, and they took the time to make sure that everyone understood that they had a legal right to do this because the government's minimum development plan threshold was $25 million, and as long as they keep the project under $25 million, it actually doesn't go through any scrutiny. The minister's not required to sign off on it. The government doesn't have a say in it. They get to do what they like. And so here we go. We have yet another privatised airport operator doing exactly what has happened at Bankstown and Moorabbin and other places. They're taking the middle finger and they're sticking it up to the minister and the Department of Infrastructure, and they're saying, you lot can get stuffed. We've got the framework to game the system, and we're going to get away with converting as much space as we can because we can do it as long as we make it look like it's under 25 million. You guys have no say in it. How disgraceful is that? How disgraceful is that? These people are getting away with carving up our airports. They're laughing in the face of the Commonwealth. They're laughing in the face of the Minister. They're laughing in the face of the Department of Infrastructure, and they are laughing and mocking our industry every time we speak up on these issues because they think it's hilarious. They're collecting the money and we're watching aviation be destroyed. And there is the facts. That is the straight talking, straight facts of what's going on. They're sticking their finger up to the entire aviation industry and to the Commonwealth, and they're laughing at us all the way to the bank. And they know they're going to be making millions of dollars out of these developments, and they know damn well that they're eroding aviation capability. They know damn well that they're undermining aviation safety, and they don't care. They don't care. They're going to game the system. And I think it wasn't too long ago the federal government proposed to increase. There was a proposal to increase the MDP threshold. They wanted to go to $50 million so they could do even more at these sites without seeking the minister's input or have any reviews into what they were up to. And AOPA basically led the charge on this, and we wrote to Barnaby Joyce and we said, what a disgrace. What a disgrace it is that these people are asking for even lower levels of oversight. In fact, it should go the other way. You should reduce the MDP to $5 million, and you should see to it that everything that is happening at these sites is scrutinised to the highest extent possible to stop them gaming the system. So here we are, yet another privatised airport gaming the system of the $25 million minimum MDP so that they get away with tearing apart our aviation infrastructure, reducing our aviation capability, undermining aviation safety, and all the while sticking their finger up to the Commonwealth Government, to the Minister and to the Department of Infrastructure, and laughing their asses off as they celebrate an opportunity to make a few more $1 million at the cost and at the sacrifice of our aviation industry. So that is exactly what's gone on. That's exactly what they're doing. Their idea of consulting the aviation industry was to go out and talk to users at Canberra Airport, not talk to the broader aviation industry, not talk to the broader community of Canberra, but to do this as a controlled in-house process by which they're telling everybody what they're doing. They're not seeking input at all. They don't want our feedback. They don't want complaints. They're not interested in listening to any of this. They don't care about our views and opinions on aviation. They certainly don't care about what's happening with respect to the broader picture of general aviation. And let's keep in mind, general aviation at Canberra Airport has been virtually destroyed. And you think about Canberra is our nation's capital. The airport is a gateway to that capital. It is an opportunity for people right throughout regional Australia to fly in and to come and visit the nation's capital and to speak to their elected representatives. And now they can't even do that. Now they're having their gateway shut down. They're having their opportunity to come to Canberra reduced in its scope and capability because a private company's been handed control of the airport, and that private company knows that under the current rules and the current framework, as long as they make this project look like it's under 25 million, no one from the Commonwealth can stop them and they can do what they like. Money speaks. It's all about the money. They don't care about aviation. It's just about making property money. How sad is that? We handed the keys to our nation's airports to a bunch of people who don't care about aviation. They care about making money. So that's what's going on with that. An extremely sad outcome. I'll be writing a report, issuing it to members so everybody can see exactly what's been going on. I thank our representatives for going along and taking time to create minutes of how the meeting took place and to photograph slides and the presentation. I think it's a really sad outcome for the aviation industry. I actually think it's pretty sad for the Commonwealth as well, because it's actually showing just how toothless the Commonwealth is. It shows how powerless our minister is. It shows how completely gutless the Department of Infrastructure are, that none of these people are able to actually see what's going on or are able to take action to stop what's going on. They're being steamrolled like a bunch of rank and file amateurs. So a really terrible outcome for aviation, and one we'll continue to report on. Obviously great news for Canberra Airport. You know, I commend the guys at Canberra Airport on another cunning strategy to make a few more $1 million out of aviation infrastructure. I look forward to seeing the next business park, and we look forward to seeing the next DFO, the next shopping centre, and more non-aviation retail. And I think it'd be wonderful for the people of Canberra to go out to the airport and be able to access who knows, future might be Bunnings, might be Mitre 10, could be anything. Let's hope there's plenty of non-aviation businesses at Canberra Airport, because at the rate they're going, Canberra Airport won't be employing anyone. There'll be no aviation jobs out there, but there'll be a bunch of whole non-aviation jobs. That'd be a great thing for aviation, wouldn't it? Okay guys, Ben Morgan from the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, just some more straight talking directly on the issue. Do appreciate you all tuning in. Again, if you do like the work that AOPA Australia does to educate the industry on these issues that are going on, and I'm sorry that there's so many negative issues to speak about. I hate the fact that there's all this crap going on in the industry, and I'd love to spend all of my time just focusing on all the positive stuff. But this stuff is going on. If you do appreciate the fact that we're building awareness and letting you know what's really happening behind the scenes, and jump on board, become a member, www.aopa.com.au/membership, and we certainly would welcome you to be part of this team. So thank you very much.